C418's Volume Alpha is one of the best albums ever made in history, and today we're going to cover all of the reasons to exactly why it is. So to start off, it's important we understand how the album begun in the first place. It's quite funny when we talk about this album because it actually kind of had this bedroom origin sort of aspect to it, because Daniel Rosenfeld was the creator of this album, otherwise known as C418. But while he was actually creating this album, he was also working a day job at a call center while composing it, which is ironic because he had to like hard pitch himself to the company itself of Mojang when it was just a 3 or 4 person operation, and they didn't even get the royalties or the rights to own the music. They just let him do it as like a reference thing. So knowing this, he created an album that was more soul over software because he used like limited tools for more better melodies, and the project literally cost like nothing to produce, and it ranged with some of the most interesting instruments ever used in an OST. For example, we had like things like the steel pan, which is something that you would never think a video game OST would feature as a primary instrument, but yep, it does. And the whole thing about it being ironic is compare that to like maybe a game like Call of Duty or Final Fantasy, who are spending like hundreds of thousands on their orchestral courses, and it's just not comparable. It's still better. So how does he do it? One of the ways he's been doing it is using something called the felt piano aesthetic, which is basically the thump of the keys and like the hiss of the room. Makes it sound like someone's kind of playing it in your room. So the production is done in a very certain way to make it feel more homely and like as if someone's directly speaking to you, rather than someone just playing music for the sake of playing it. And what's funny as well is since it's kind of this soft feel, it actually kind of has like that ASMR kind of quality to it that's just super intimate. It's perfect for something like Minecraft, where it's just a game based off your own imagination, which is funny as well because, you know, if you compare it to music nowadays, like more modern tracks, you could kind of always see that it's compressed to be at one volume, while Minecraft just kind of lets it breathe, and however loud it is, it's however loud it is. There's a lot of tracks that are mixed loud, soft, on purpose so that you can kind of breathe in times, and he actually uses like crescendos in the music itself to make it feel like there's this absence of noise, and that absence of noise lets your brain think during that time, and it creates this more emotional feeling. Especially nowadays when you look back at the album, it has a lot more texture in your head than when it did back in the day, and that is the power of nostalgia. And that is something that this album is perfect for, because since it's a homely feel, it can connect emotions to a song, especially if you played it a lot growing up or watched YouTubers playing it. For example, maybe you watch Stampy Longnose. But why does this game have nostalgia and not games like Super Mario, for example? Well, it's because of the fact that it subverts the gamey sound. Like for example, if you were to contrast this with like the high energy like level start loops of Super Mario, it's just not the same. One has emotion and the other kind of just is there to fit a theme. And with like games like Super Mario, if you die, it plays a certain song. With Minecraft, it doesn't give a shit. If you die, well, still playing Sweden. And it kind of lacks the jingles to keep you in like flow states. So it's not trying to like get your attention. It just kind of does it subvertively. And it's all because of that minimalism. It's kind of like furniture music where it's supposed to be kind of part of a room, but not really the center of your attention. Because if you were to like say try to build redstone or something in game, right? Something that's really taking up a lot of brain capacity, a lot of brain power, having more complex music would probably actually distract you from building it and make it harder for you to actually do it in the first place. And that's exactly why like things like the negative space work in the tracks that he plays himself. And as a result of that, it means that the music, since it's not taking up your full attention, allows it to be more replayable. And that's one of the perfect parts of this album. It actually lets the viewer kind of just digest it on its own. So if you were to say listen to like a song by Aries for like 10 times, right? Eventually you kind of feel like it's kind of, okay, I'm done with this. You might get a little bored of it. With Minecraft's music, you kind of can't. And the reason for it is because it's not trying to like divert your attention or keep your attention. It's just there to act as like a soundtrack to your life. Actually, for example, it's that dedicated to it that when you like have a certain area in the game that you hit, like for example, say you hit the end, it plays a more melodic version of like some of the older music that you've listened to already, but it doesn't try to be anything crazier than what you've already listened to. Like for example, you compare like parts of Alpha and Volume Beta to Moog City, and it's quite comparable. It's basically just replaying some of the music you've already listened to and making it into something new whilst also still being catchy enough. That's like intense. So basically it becomes like a white noise for the game rather than actually like something that is supposed to take your attention or create a feeling. It's just kind of there like to soothe you almost, which works sometimes until you get killed by a creeper, and then it doesn't really. But what is the production value of this album that creates it to be something unique? Well, it's all to do with the atmosphere and like the psychology behind it. The first part of its production is all of the unfinished feeling music. So you look at, say, tracks like Subwoofer Lullaby, and it just feels like it kind of drifts away. Like the song doesn't really have a conclusion point or have any like leading action at all. It just kind of slowly fades out, which is exactly why he did it that way, because he wanted to mirror like a game with no ending. So the whole point was that it kind of feels open, not going anywhere. It has no climax, it has no structure to it, it doesn't have any rules to follow. That's why it's perfect. It is so open that it's open to creativity. And that's what a game like Minecraft needs, of all games. And in doing that, it also kind of creates this liminality feeling. Like, for example, when you were in the back rooms, for example, you would imagine it feeling kind of like this like buzzing white noise sound. That's exactly what Minecraft tries to do as well. The music is supposed to feel like a memory or a dream that you can't really grasp on. So it gives you this feeling like it's a thin line between feeling safe in your home and also feel like you're being watched while doing so. And that is all reasons why it creates this synthesized, glitchy, classical piano sound that you could only kind of identify as the Daniel sound. Even look at, you know, artists that came in after him who admittedly weren't trying to necessarily copy him, but it just didn't have the same sound. It's the exact reason why you couldn't categorize this album into pop or rock or literally anything else. It didn't follow any trends in 2011, no dubstep, electropop, and it doesn't sound dated nowadays. It's kind of like the modern Mozart, if you could say that. And as a result of it being so legacy based, it also reaches beyond just, you know, where we live. There's no lyrics, no translation, meaning that a kid in Japan, Brazil, or literally anywhere could feel the same way, meaning that basically it will never get old. Like, for example, there's kids playing the game now that were our age when we started, and they're going through the same thing and they aren't getting sick of the songs. It also means that it pioneered some other niches. Like, for example, you could probably compare it to lo-fi and how it probably created a wave of lo-fi that we see nowadays. It's actually that important to our society that there's actual vinyls of the album on sale. You could literally go to your local vinyl store and buy it. So yes, this is arguably the best album ever from a video game, and possibly could be up there with one of the best of all time. But hey, if you agree, subscribe. If you don't, well, I'm sorry, but click the video on screen. You might feel like you can agree with this one, talking about how YouTubers are shit, which is, I think everyone could agree on that. So yeah, click it and enjoy. I'll see you guys later.